So good morning and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you all for being here. So this is the first session we have of the Climate Robotics this year, and we will be discussing the impact of robotics on biodiversity assessment. My name is Raphael Zufferey. I'm an assistant professor in the Department of Mechanical Engineering here at MIT, where I lead research on bio-inspired robotics. And my work sits at somewhat of an unusual intersection. We develop robots that can move between air and water, so drones that fly, for example, land on lakes and oceans, sail across the surface, and even dive below it. And we take inspiration from nature, from diving birds, from insects, and we design machines that are not confined to a single environment, but that can really navigate this messy, multimodal reality of the natural world. Before MIT, I completed my PhD in aeronautics at Imperial College London, followed by a postdoctoral work at EPFL in Switzerland and also at the University of Seville, where I had the chance to work on flapping wing systems and landing questions. And so why does this matter for a conversation about climate, right? This is really robotic focused, right? Well, it's because our lakes, rivers, and ocean are some of the most important and most difficult places to monitor and one of the most important ecosystems on the planet. They regulate our climate, they sustain biodiversity, and often the first places where environmental changes show up. But they're incredibly hard to study. Just simply because of the scale. Current methods, such as using vessels, is expensive, sensors are sparse, and vast stretches of water simply go unobserved. And so autonomous robotics may offer a way to change that, to collect acoustic data, for example, water samples, and do biodiversity measurements at a scale and place that were previously out of reach. So that's what personally I hope from robotics. But of course, no single lab or discipline can tackle this challenge alone, and this is exactly why I'm so excited about the panel we were able to assemble today. Each of our speakers bring a really different piece of the puzzle here, and we have speakers from academia and industry. We'll be talking about engineering of autonomous systems for biodiversity, field work in some of the most extreme places on Earth, how that actually happens. I'm really excited about these questions. And finally, about like genomics and how to read the story of an ecosystem from a few drops of water. So I really want to make this session as interactive as possible. So both from the panelists, like feel free to jump in and ask questions and break the flow. Same with the chat, right? Everyone is really welcome here to ask any questions at all, right? And we'll go over them. But first of all, I'd like to ask the speakers to give a short introduction, maybe like sort of 2-3 minutes each. And we'll go in a specific order because we've prepared the background slides. So first it will be Ulrik, then Davide, then Annette, and finally Jürg. So Ulrik, please.
Thanks. So my name is Ulrik Schultz Lundquist. I'm a professor and I'm leader of the Wild Drone Project, which is an interdisciplinary research project that works with prototyping of drones and AI for conservation ecology. We have a lot of focus on deploying solutions together with local collaborators and also on developing solutions that are relevant in that context. We're focused on educating PhDs in the project from the onset, but actually also we brainstormed into working together with local collaborators to educate master students. Some of the things that we did was that we took the entire project group two times to Kenya on hackathons to bring everyone together to expose not just the biologists who used to be there, but also the computer scientists and the drone engineers to the actual conditions to develop solutions for that. In the slide I sent, there's a video, 40 seconds from the most recent trip this February, which I was super excited about. We just came back from it and I'm still excited about it. So if that video can play, I'd love to share it. And otherwise I can share it some other way. And this is taking the entire group there to actually test out some of the things we've been building in the project.
Yeah, is it possible to have that slide up? That would be fantastic.
Yeah, thanks. So, well, I can also just talk. And one of the things that I was particularly happy about that as a drone engineer is that, and if the slide comes up, just get it up, is that so one of the things we're challenged by in using drones is that, well, drones are pretty good at moving around, of course, in different types of terrain by flying over it, at least if it's open terrain. But we have a hard time covering large areas, in particular if you don't want to use an expensive drone system. So we developed a fixed-wing solar-powered drone when we are on the equator, which we're fortunate to be there. It generates 3 times the energy needed when the sun is shining to keep it flying, so it flies all day. Roughly 2,000 euros in material costs, and can be built easily from using local manufacturing techniques in a country like Kenya. And the goal of the project is to share this as open source, such that local students who we also started to help educate at the working together with Kenyatta University would actually be building drones like that. And apart from that, there's also focus on developing algorithms and software that can be used with the standard commercial off-the-shelf drones that biologists would like to use. So the cheap DJI drones, I mean, as a roboticist, I would like to see them fly autonomously and operating autonomously. And so we developed open source software for that as well, to allow them to be used in swarming configurations or taking turns to do things, or other kinds of automation. Again, trying to focus on the low-cost solutions that are easy for people to keep working with and maintaining. I think that's it for me. And I'll put a link to the video if it doesn't play, which it doesn't seem to. So, but that's fine.
Thank you so much.
Hi all, I'm Davide Di Blasi. I am PhD in marine science. I am a marine ecologist and biologist, but I work in the Institute of Marine Engineering. Why this? I work on distribution, mainly on distribution and life cycle of fish, and especially in remote environments, such the polar ones are. And to study them in such environment, I had to implement unconventional way to detect them, such as the robotics. Of course, the robotic is not so unconventional to study fish, but maybe is even more important in remote habitat, where nor human directly nor research vessel can arrive, such as, for example, the environment under the sea ice. And that's all. That's my work. Maybe there will be opportunity to deepen on it during this talk. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Annette?
Hello, everybody. Hope you all can hear me okay. I am Annette Govindarajan. I'm a biologist at the Woods Hole Oceanographic Institution. I'm a molecular ecologist and seagoing oceanographer, and my research is at the interface of biology and technology innovation. So what we do in my lab is we look at questions about animal distributions, particularly in the deep sea, but not necessarily limited to this deep sea, but that's our focus. And we develop and apply new autonomous sampling technologies in combination with robotics platforms, and operationalize those to address questions about animal biodiversity, what species are down there, how are these animals distributed over space and time, and what are those factors controlling those distributions. I've sampled everywhere from mountain headwaters to the deep sea floor, to the abyssal sea floor, and hopefully heading this fall to sample in the deep ocean trenches, the deepest part of our world ocean. Yeah, so next, did I use up my time here?
No, this is
Okay.
great. I think we have enough time, anyways, to cover it all.
Sure.
Maybe Anna, can you tell us just a few more words about Hui, about the institute you work at? I had the chance to visit last year, and I found it fascinating. I didn't know much about it before, especially as a non-US citizen.
Yeah, sure. So we are a nonprofit organization that's dedicated to studying all aspects of the ocean. We have different scientific departments. I'm in the biology department. We have applied ocean physics and engineering, chemistry, marine chemistry and geochemistry, geology and geophysics. And we also have a marine policy center as well. So we're located in Woods Hole on Cape Cod in Massachusetts.
All right, thanks so much. And Jürg.
Yeah, thanks so much. Impressive panel. So great to be with all of you here. Yeah, Rafa, I have a very similar background to you. I guess I think we worked with a lot of people, or like we have a lot of overlap in the people that we work with. But anyway, yeah, my background is I originally have a PhD in robotics from EPFL. I was then working with Patrick Meyer, who now founded the Climate Robotics Network. Together at We Robotics, we implemented or let's say empowered a lot of drone teams across the world, specifically in the global south, for humanitarian work, mainly in public health. So we did a lot of medical delivery using drones and other use cases, releasing mosquitoes from drones against dengue, together with the World Mosquito Program. I guess I learned a lot of lessons while implementing these projects worldwide. I think it always came down to like the technology that we build needs to be super simple, affordable, and really fit for purpose. I then decided in my career that I really want to work in addressing the climate crisis, biodiversity crisis, also nature crisis, so to say. So I started a small startup that is called Inverto. We're a nature tech company. We're based in Switzerland and working globally, especially around restoring coastal ecosystems, blue carbon, and that actually means mainly mangrove projects that we work with. We build robotics and geospatial AI solutions to essentially help people on the ground to scale up their mission, scale up their impact, and essentially, like make nature return faster and at the right places, and so on. We're active worldwide in some very remote places in Pakistan, Indonesia, Senegal, Saudi Arabia. And yeah, I guess we sit at the intersection of hardware robotics, Earth observation, but also carbon markets. So we're really I'm now really exposed to the entrepreneurial and business side of things as well. And I think I'll stop here. Thank you.
All right, thank you so much. So the chat is open for questions. Please, everyone, don't hesitate. Jürg, maybe just to jump on this, we were discussing before how it's important for individuals, companies, even in labs, right, to really interface with the people that are facing the problems. How are you solving that in your company?
Yeah, I mean, just by going out as much as we can. So like when we started the company, we we were cold emailing people. We tried. I mean, we did have a network already in place with we've been working with like 20 to 30 groups worldwide before. So through these network, trying to find the right people that are actually, like in our case, mangrove experts and have been working in these ecosystems, and just trying to see like, well, what are your challenges actually, and what would be a meaningful contribution to that. So we always, and I think still, are going the way of like, well, let's see where the real challenges are and then figure them out. So and oftentimes we saw like, well, we have this challenge, we can build this. But we would only build it once we identified the challenge and not before.
Okay, fantastic. So maybe just to start off, I wanted to get a very short answer maybe on what's the hardest part of deploying your technology, right? I see we have very different technologies here. What is the hardest part of deploying that technology in the real world that people outside the field don't really appreciate? Maybe Ulrik, you wanna start on this?
Thanks. Yeah. So in the Wildland project, we obviously focus a lot on drones, and I think the biggest challenge there is definitely safety. So often the environments that we operate in are complicated, and if it's an environment where there are many endangered animals, it might also be an environment where there's lots of tourists who want to fly in, and making that safe both for other airspace actors and also for people on the ground with drone technology is a massive challenge, and which is also the reason why there's lots of legislation in many countries that prevents you from doing things that is considered unsafe. And one of the biggest challenges is then overcoming these, basically the safety problem to such that we can fly the drones legally in the way we want to, because otherwise you're very constrained. You can only have one person piloting one drone manually to 500 meters, and that's next to useless in many scenarios. So I think safety would be my main thing. And I think that goes for so many things in robotics. How do we keep it safe for people and also for animals, of course, and for the environment in general around us?
All right, fantastic. And is there any aspect that in that you innovated in that helped people believe that this was more safe, or is there was it about like the scale of the system? Were you able to make them small enough that they represented a small risk, or were you able to add layers of safety on top?
Thanks. So we actually worked a lot with coming up with the right. This is sounds kind of boring for maybe, but we worked a lot with coming up with the right operational procedures, the right descriptions, the right ways to analyze complex scenarios in a nature conservation context to allow drones to be deployed safely. Because it's no matter how safe the drone technology is, you need to have this assessment of how does it actually perform in the environment. And doing that in a way that is easy for people who would like to deploy it is a significant challenge. And then, well, we started working because we wanted to scale up the drone technology rather than building a huge multi-rotor that weighs 20 kilograms. We went for a 5-kilogram fixed-wing drone that actually is relatively safe because the relatively low weight compared to the size makes it less of a threat to people and animals on the ground as well. So I think there's a lot in the procedures and the physical design of the system.
All right, awesome. Thanks. Jürg, do you want to tell us about your hardest part that has been not really evaluated by people?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, for us, I would say reliability. That's just like I think we can build a lot of fancy robots that work once or twice, but to make them really meaningful on the ground and make them work for projects for actual clients, they just need to be very reliable, and that just takes a whole bunch of engineering, right? And that again takes a whole bunch of money. And as a small startup, and for us working on still like a rather niche use case, how can you justify, building up a company with I don't know, 50 to 100 people? Will the business case then actually deliver that for the sort of reliability that you need?
Yeah, I can really relate to that, being in academia, where often it's about like showing a publication, right? Where it's about like, okay, well, has this worked, right? And that's often where then come the real challenges after, right? How do we apply this with high reliability? So I completely agree with this argument. Annette, do you want to jump on this question as well?
Sure. I think for the deep sea, a big challenge is the remoteness of the environment, and in the fact that the pressures that the robots have to endure are crushing. So you need to they need to be designed to withstand and tolerate those pressures. And we need to, in order to access the environment, we require being out on an oceanographic expedition on a ship. And so there's a lot of logistics that go into that as well. So
what's the deepest your robots have gone?
So the deepest I've sampled has been about 4,000 meters, and I hope to extend that later this year to to close to 10. So
Yeah, wow, very cool, very impressive. And Davide, maybe you want to jump in on that question as well.
Yes, of course. The huge challenge in working on CIs, which is the major part of my work, is that the robotic that we employ has to be in the same time complex and sometimes modular, because maybe we have few time to make different part of a survey or even more surveys. And but it has to be even user-friendly, because where we go, oceanographic vessel cannot go. Maybe we can go with small helicopters, so the size of the robots has to be small, has to be not so heavy, has to pass from little holes drilled in the sea ice, and this is the technical difficulty. Another difficulty, especially, I don't know, around the world, but in Italy, is to make to person the awareness of the importance of study sea in so remote areas, because the the poles in city for citizens are so far not completely linked to them, while we know that is not so. The most relevant example is the conveyor belt, water masses that generate at the poles and drive oxygen and nitrogen around all the oceans of the world, allow life around all the world, and furthermore, study pole means study in a real direct way the climate change, because they are among the most sensitive environments.
So how do you solve this? How do you engage with the public to convince them that the poles matter? Do you have outreach events, or what's the solution?
We have yes, we have to spend energy in outreach events, not only dissemination, that means speak to other researchers, but we have to spend a lot of energy in outreach events. Yes.
All right, cool. And I imagine similar to Annette, right? The logistics of running expeditions in the poles must be crazy, right?
Yeah.
What's sort of like the time frame that you usually work on? Say you have an objective, you have a mission that's going to come up at some point in the future. When do you need to start preparing? And I imagine like shipping some things or.
Surveys in Antarctica last, for example, in Antarctica last about 1 or 2 months, but we spend a huge part of the year to prepare them, just because this is another complexity. Once we are there, we have to be sure that all the complex things that are prepared will work. We have no, my colleagues, some one of them are now connected, so I choose them, are excellent engineers and very flexible engineers, can solve problems on field, but not all can be. So the preparation has to be very, very relevant.
Yeah, thank you. So I'll take the first question that we have here in the chat. Thank you so much, Titi, for that. And the question is to Jürg. I'd love to hear more about the dengue project and use of drones for public health interventions. What was your proudest achievements, and what one cautionary tale do you have from this work?
Yes, thanks. Great question. Yeah, so I've been working on this. Essentially, mosquito control is a huge challenge in public health generally, right? So mosquitoes, especially the Aedes aegypti, so the tiger mosquito, is spreading globally. It's a mosquito that spreads dengue, but not only that, chikungunya, and a few other diseases, West Nile virus, and so on. So there's a lot of yeah, let's say actions being implemented. And actually like some of the most effective techniques are so-called biological control. So what groups do is essentially in labs, they would rear mosquitoes, and then these mosquitoes are either sterilized and put out into the wild, um, or we work together with the World Mosquito Program. They have a different technique. They essentially inject a bacteria into the mosquitoes. That this bacteria, it's a naturally occurring bacteria, acts as a blocker such that a virus like dengue isn't being transmitted anymore when the mosquitoes carry this bacteria. And then essentially with mosquitoes, they actually don't fly very far in their lifetime. So when you essentially like what most people do, or what sort of the state of the art, at least back in the days, was that essentially you have ground teams that go around and bring out these lab-reared mosquitoes from like the mosquitoes factory. Every 50 meters they stop and they shake out a little cylinder with yeah, like 200 mosquitoes or so, and release them into the wild such that they would yeah, like integrate or interfere or just mate with the wild population. And that is just a logistical nightmare. So typically you're like these programs are being implemented where the people are, so in massive cities all around the world. They're typically struggling with traffic and just the logistics of all of that. If you want to cover, you know, a city like take, let's say, Rio de Janeiro, for instance, and every 50 meters you want to release some mosquitoes, that is just it's a huge invention. They have lots, they have huge ground teams that essentially implement that on a weekly basis. They release these mosquitoes. So what we did is we built a system for a drone that can carry we were able to carry about 300,000 mosquitoes per flight. And then essentially we were like the machine was designed that it could release 50 mosquitoes every, no, sorry, 150 mosquitoes every 50 meters roughly. But yeah, you dose them and you release them over time such that you have a very homogeneous distribution of the mosquitoes, and you essentially try to, yeah, control the mosquito population over the entire city. We were proud. We showed in Fiji where we implemented sort of the first drone-led campaign, and we really showed the effectiveness of the approach. We compared it to ground release as well, and it was, if I remember correctly, at least as good, if not often better. So yeah, very, very proud of that. The challenge there was that really we've been like these programs would always be in like very urban areas, right? So getting flight permissions and doing these sort of things, yeah, was very challenging from like civil aviation regulations point of view. And public acceptance would be is another challenge. So yeah, I haven't worked on that since now 3 years. But I know, I mean, these efforts are, you know, ongoing, and people are still implementing that, and it's just going to take probably another couple of years until it's like fully operationalized. And I mean, we know that drone regulations and the whole sort of yeah, frameworks, permission processes, and so on to integrate them in like an urban airspace are progressing, and we're getting there. I think when we were working on that, it was quite early. So yeah, so we definitely faced a lot of challenges implementing these programs, but we made some very impressive progress.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Maybe one question for you, Annette, now. So what's the one species or ecosystem that your technology has helped understand that just wasn't possible 5 or 10 years ago?
Sure. So we did an expedition in late 2024 to American Samoa, where we sampled using a suite of different robots from the surface to the seafloor and into the volcanoes. We focused on seamounts, which are underwater mountains. And there's one active volcano called Vailulu that we think might be, as a result of its activity and supporting microbial life, maybe enhancing the biodiversity. And so one of our exciting accomplishments was putting Mesabot, which is our midwater robot, actually into the volcano to sample for environmental DNA in the plume that was coming out from the volcano. So just super exciting. Shout out credit to my colleague Dana Jürger, who is the lead engineer for that, who was the one who could make that happen. And then the other piece of like I say, we're doing surface to seafloor. And so in order to tackle the challenge of the vastness of the environment, right? And we think about scaling, right? Like, okay, the ocean's big, we have to scale up. Another approach is to sample smart, right? And that means adaptive sampling, right? Targeted sampling. So we've also done some work with targeting these what we call deep sound scattering layers. Okay, so animals are not distributed evenly or homogeneously through the water, right? And so we can actually see movement of animals through acoustic backscatter, although that can't tell us what those animals are. So we also worked on in that American Samoa with that team to develop a multi-vehicle approach, multiple robots to target these moving layers. So we had Mesabot, had our autonomous samplers. We also had a uncrewed surface vehicle, Drix, right, that had the acoustic data and we could see that from the ship or even from shore. And I was controlling that from Woods Hole, what was going on out in the Pacific, which was pretty exciting. And then Drix will then tell Mesabot where to go and then initiate the sampling. So we had this really coordinated way of coordinating different robots to get at this challenge of sampling smarter. So we were able to do all of this in this American Samoa, back-to-back expeditions. And so we actually had a number of accomplishments that could, and this ability to do it all together comprehensively was really amazing.
Ah, cool. And you mentioned that you're using environmental DNA. Can you tell us a little bit more about the technology, what's involved? If someone wants to get into this, like what are the challenges?
Yeah, so environmental DNA, broadly speaking, can mean any DNA in the environment. And so if for an animal biologist, that means the little trace pieces that they shed, like skin cells or scales or fecal pellets or little tissue bits, right? And so what we can do is we can sample for those and get the sequence genetic markers and use that to tell us who those animals are, right? So it's kind of like an underwater forensic style approach for animals. And so we can do all this without actually having to sample the animals themselves. And so what we've been working on in my lab and others are doing as well is developing autonomous samplers that can actually do the sampling and filtration in situ. And particularly we find in the deep sea with this big space, it's the largest volume on our habitable volume on the planet, right? So we want to filter large volumes of water, right? And we want to make these samplers to go on different types of robots that have different specialties of where they sample and how they sample, right? And so I would say to people, there's no one perfect robot that does everything or one perfect sampler, but there's a lot. It's the having a variety that each that with their own strength, right, and that fill a critical need. And so it's a very active area of development right now. So.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's great. I have one question for Ulrik, and that way we can also show you video. I think the tech team is able to pull up that video. You're saying about your all-day fixed-wing flying vehicles that can travel really long distances, right? I was wondering, is there a limit to the distance that you can fly them? And if so, is it like communication, or can you actually go and cross like an entire country?
Well, it flies at around 50 kilometers per hour. So I guess if you flew with the sun, that would give you a little longer flying time. But otherwise, since it's solar powered, it only flies during the day. I'll let the video play first.
Group all those together and bring them to 40 meters altitude.
Wow, super impressive video. When was this shot?
In February and March.
Okay. Yeah.
So thanks. No, we put a significant effort into. I think there's I mean, not to be naive, but we're hoping, of course, that robots and drones can at least contribute to something in the biodiversity crisis. And I think it's one of the positive stories we can help tell as well. So we do put some effort into the communication. And as for the solar powered drone, no, I mean, the restriction right now is how long. That's why I talked about safety before, which connects to permissions. I was very close, by the way, Jürg, to saying reliability as well, because it hits us all the time. It's really hard to build these systems in a way that's reliable. We're trying to go simple and cheap and have it easy for local people to fix. Which is something we try to take to an extreme there. The drone has a battery autonomy of 15 minutes, but as long as the sun shines, it flies. So actually, I have to confess, we didn't fly it all day while we were there. It's still a bit recent. The rainy season came a bit earlier, and so we had clouds the whole time we were there. We did manage to fly it for 3 hours, 13 minutes on a 15-minute battery, which I was happy about. We have to go back, of course, when we get more sunshine. But as long as the sun is shining, so if you have a day with clear forecast, it flies all day. And once again, the idea is to have something that's easy to build by engineers and easy to adapt, and easy for people to work with. And that's one way we're thinking that we can do a bit to scale this. If you want to do large-scale population surveys, obviously, the multi-rotor is insufficient for that. It uses way too much energy to stay aloft. You can use manned aviation, which is what we often tend to, but I think this is the kind of solution that we need to come up with. It's really simple. I mean, you need to hand launch it. It's not a clever VTOL, but look, in most of these places, you don't mind having to launch a plane like that in the morning. It'll fly around all day. It flies by itself, of course, on autopilot, collects data. If we can make it safe to operate in some of these areas, so for example, being allowed to put a transponder on it so that it's visible to other aircraft, or having other means of controlling the interaction between it and other airspace actors, then we can cover large areas. We're actually flying this one. We were in just north of Nairobi here, so that's actually 2 kilometers altitude compared to sea level. And we could easily go up to 3 or 4 if we needed to with a craft like that, while still staying relatively energy efficient. So with a good camera, we would need to engineer it a bit more to let it carry a bigger payload. We could cover very large areas with a device like that. Apart from that, I think the key to scaling up is also in interacting between different kinds of robot systems. So we have a follow-up project now called Robotics that we're starting just now, where we are not just doing flying drones, but also ground and surface robots. And for example, having surface robots that can sail along and then launch multi-rotors to fly specific missions or do similar hybrid systems, I think is also another way to scale it. Drones are really great for covering large areas. The usual multi-rotor, it doesn't really cut it. So combining with different systems, I think are the kinds of solutions we need to work with as well. But for now, if I was to bet my money in anything that would give us lots of data and biodiversity, it's the hand launch solar powered glider.
Very cool. Very cool. Thank you so much. So we have just a few minutes left for the panel. So maybe just one question for everybody. So 5 years from now, what piece of infrastructure, capability, sensor, um, technology, autopilot do you hope will exist that doesn't exist today? Um, yeah. So I open the floor to all of you. Is there something we're missing? Yeah.
I'll start. So right now, we focus on deploying our robots from ships, from expeditions, but I'd like to see long-term deployable technology that stays out for a long period of time, so we're not just limited to ship going operations.
All right. Thanks.
I'd like that as well.
Yes, in the case of polar research, when I think we have to work through robot and technologies, okay, more autonomous as possible. You have to drill a hole, the same example of before, drill a hole on the sea ice, then leave an AUV, for example, that can autonomously, not link it to a cable, for example, cover the wide range of seafloor on the pelagic environment as possible.
Yeah, I think I would echo that. So definitely longer autonomy will be yeah, heavily beneficial also for like our operations are also always complicated and always involve boats to get us somewhere to actually start launching the systems. So yeah, that will help autonomy for sure, and multimodality as well. That's something we're definitely dreaming of. So one of the things like specifically for like yeah, mangroves or these kind of blue carbon ecosystems where we're working is people still need to go out and walk through the mud and take soil samples, for instance, relatively deep, 30 centimeters to 1 meter. And yeah, I mean, you know, we can start prototyping things around doing that, but it feels too tricky right now with sort of the state of the art where we're at to actually start doing that ourselves as a company. But I think the more advanced the platforms will get that would sort of allow us to go to that, and then, you know, put some kind of tool on top of it that would allow us to unlock that use case.
Yeah, so I agree, right? That more autonomy is often better, right? But at the same time, if we want to make sure we keep involving local people on the ground, right? Then by adding more autonomy, we're sort of taking that away, right? To some extent. How do we deal with this?
I'd just a quick comment, sorry, because I was thinking one thing I'm really missing here is also the collaborative climate robot. So just like we have collaborative robots in industry, and they've been really made a huge difference there in making robots more useful in many places, we need something that's more focused on being a collaborator, or a couple of robots that collaborate with the persons in the field collecting data with them. You might leave them in the field and let them work by themselves, like Annette was saying. I completely agree with that. But it needs to be something where you can carefully instruct it, tell it what to do in a way that remains safe but also efficient. And I think that that's a big thing as well, that goes hand in hand with the autonomy.
Yeah, I like that. And I think that's gonna heavily come, right, with sort of already the whole, you know, introduction of the LLMs and how we sort of interact with machines. It completely changed, right, in the last 2 years. And I think we're gonna see that with robots as well. It's like, hey, well, go out and get me that sample. Really like super simple. And I think to your point, Raf, around integrating that, like most of the, you know, it's super important to have the local communities integrated in I guess whatever project you do. But it's the reality on the ground is as well, like a lot of the local people, you know, they're not so keen on walking through the mud for, you know, hours and hours and sweating and getting whatever, a soil sample or something else out there. Like it's really hard work in really harsh environments, and I think this is where everybody is happy to have robots helping them.
So I guess perhaps then you give over the control of the mission, and you rather stay out of it, or do you hand out? You just give to the locals directly just the data? How do you do it?
I would say make them equal partners. I think that's they're equal partners at the level of the principal investigator in academia. And I also think that even with more autonomy and longer term autonomy, I still don't think you're going to replace like the physical human aspect of going out there and getting a sample now and then. It is a big space, right? The ocean, it's at least it's a big space, it's a big challenge, and they're complementary approaches.
Yeah, completely agree.
Mhm.
All right.
And I think the advantage is
yeah.
repeatability, with the robots. Like your measurements and the data is going to be superior than what was previously done, and that just helps everybody.
Yeah, basically, let's try to replace the boring, repetitive jobs, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I completely agree. All right. Well, I think we're going to stop here because we need to move on to the next panel. But thank you so much for this discussion. It's been a real pleasure. And everyone here that's watching, feel free to reach out to all our speakers, and you've seen the contact names have been like posted here in the chat, right? And also check in the agenda if you want to find the contacts. So thank you so much for being here with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Harv.
Thank you to you.
Thanks.
Thank you to
Bye-bye.
all.
Bye.